My name is Heather, and I'm a survivor of the Aurora Century 16 theater shooting. That day, when the theater tragedy happened, it was all over the news, and I was just waking up, getting ready to go to my place of work, which is at the city building directly across from the theater. And we were getting ready to do firefighter testing, and I saw the news on TV, and I was in shock. When I had gotten to work, I kept getting phone calls on my cell phone while I was trying to start the test and move people to a different building. And that's when I called my mom back, and she had told me that Ashley was in the theater and she was there with Veronica, and that Ashley was shot and was in critical condition in the hospital, and that Veronica was killed. From there, I mean, there was just a ripple effect of what happened to my family and how we all had to rally around Ashley and the effect that it had on the people around me and in my workplace and my community. This tragedy impacted my identity in a way that it is now my passion and my life's work to advocate for the long-term healing of survivors of mass tragedies. I have 5 kids, and my goal was to protect my children and to make them believe that this would never happen again and that there was more love in the world than hate. So I work at the city, and I was able to ask if we had started a memorial yet, and they said that they were not having great luck raising funds. And when I went home and I was on the phone with my aunt talking about it, my daughter Megan and Aubrey were sitting on the couch, and they had an idea of having a lemonade stand fundraiser in Veronica's name. And Ashley had given me Veronica's kindergarten graduation picture. On the side of it, it said, "I want to be a police officer when I grow up." And so I had asked our police chief if he could get as many police officers as he could to come to the lemonade stand. And he went above and beyond that. And at the lemonade stand, they did a procession to the lemonade stand. And all of the officers stood there, and they took the oath for Veronica, and they made her an honorary police officer. And they gave the badge to my cousin Ashley. And it gave me hope and inspiration that there are people who care out there. And then at each booth that we would have to raise money for the memorial, if there was a mass shooting, we would have banners with that city's name on it and have people sign their names, because that's what people did for us in 2012. And so for me, just connecting with people is something that I got out of this shooting happening. What it means to me is that when people are talking about mass shootings, that they recognize that there is a person behind the number, that that person who is behind that number meant something to a family, and that they're no longer here, and that not only is their family missing out on somebody, but the world is missing out on a beautiful soul that could have done so much in this world. And I feel like when the politics come into it, which always happens right after a shooting, immediately when you turn on the news, people are starting to fight on both sides about how to address the problem. For me, when it first happened and that was going on, it really tore me apart. And I was like, I wish people would just not talk about this right now. I am grieving the loss of my cousin, and I am sitting here trying to support Ashley and make her feel better. And all anyone wants to do is fight. And if people would just take the time to acknowledge the loss and the grief and comfort people who are impacted by it, realize that anyone impacted by a tragedy goes on a different path and different ways of healing and a different time frame of how they heal, and they deserve long-term mental health help in perpetuity. It is a long-term healing process. This tragedy has impacted them, and they're going to be dealing with it for the rest of their lives. And so it's important to keep supporting and acknowledging them, being there for them when another shooting happens. And it's different every time. When another shooting happens, sometimes you'll want to talk about it and you'll want to open up and be vulnerable and cry. And sometimes you just don't want to hear about it and you don't want to talk and you'll brush the person off. So a lot of people just may not understand that a survivor is going to act different at any given time. And it's not necessarily that they're mad at you or you're saying the wrong thing. It's just they're just dealing with it in their own way. And so if you know somebody who has been impacted by tragedy, or you come upon somebody who wants to share their story, just recognize that, it's something that's very deep within their soul that has impacted them. And you're going to feel weird about not wanting to say the wrong thing. But just the fact that you're there for them and you're listening and you're just in their presence and hearing them, it means the world.
To hear more from other survivors, visit the Supporting Mass Shooting Survivors website.